In this tutorial in CyberLink PowerDirector, we'd like to show you one method for trimming your video clips in your timeline. Oftentimes we want to shorten what we have, and this is one of the ways in which you can do it. There are several different options you have. We're going to focus on the tool that is right above the timeline that looks like a pair of scissors. So I have two clips on my track number 1. And the left one is the one we'll work on, so I'll just click on it to highlight it. When I do, all these tools become active above the timeline. The one we're going to focus on in this exercise is the scissors. That gets me to a special trim tool. I'm going to click on that now. Now my trim window opens up. There are several things to note about the trim window. First of all, you have a preview as the main part of the screen on the left. And then you have the time indicator. On the upper right, you have a miniature that gives you a picture of the first frame in that thumbnail of your clip. Now it starts out with position 00 because it's the very first frame of the clip if you don't edit it. Likewise, one below it gives you the last frame of the clip, and it's 29 seconds in one frame, which happens to be the same as the duration of the clip in the upper part of your screen. So what we're going to do is be able to see the first frame of whatever we're going to trim and the last frame of whatever we're going to trim. So let me show you how you begin to trim. You can trim from the front end or the back end when the single trim tab is used at the very top. You can also do multi-trim. We won't cover that in this particular tutorial. So let's assume that we know this video is good, but it's too long. We need to change it. What are some ways in which we can trim? Let me show you what we mean. The easiest way to go about it is to take the white triangle on the left side at the blue bar and drag it to the first frame where you want to start your trim. Now in this case, we have the sign come in the way. Let's trim right after the sign passes out. Now if you want to trim precisely by moving this, you can move it also by moving the controls down here. And the one with the triangle and the line pointing to the left will go back a frame, and the other one will go forward a frame. So here I'm moving frame by frame, and I can trim it. I can start it just at the frame where that sign is not in the way. Now it's not trimmed yet. The time indicator over here indicates that we're 12 seconds and 7 frames into our project. If I want to start my trim there, I click on this gray box. It's the mark in, or I can press the I key on my keyboard to do the same. I'll click the box for now, and when I do that, it actually moves that little yellow marker to the very frame where my triangle was. And let's assume that we want to start there. The other thing we can do is trim on the other end, of course, so I can take this and slide it over. And I get to the very end and the camera jumps down. I don't want to see that. I want to stop right about there. And again, we can move frame by frame by clicking the previous frame or next frame controls here. And then if I want to trim it at that point, I want to mark it out, as they say. I can click on the button here, or I can press the O key on the keyboard with the same result. Now you notice what I have over here. I have the very first frame at the top, and I have the very last frame at the bottom. And it tells me the in position and the out position, and at the top I have the new duration. So I have all that information available instantly. I know now that my clip is 16 seconds, 9 frames long, and I know the frame where it starts and the frame where it stops. Let me click on OK. What it did, it pushed the other frames. It was a ripple delete where it pushed the other frames back because now my entire project is shorter. It didn't leave the clip behind it orphaned to the right. Let's go in and edit it again. I'll simply click on the scissors once more. And you notice we still have this area over here. And it says original. If I click here, it's output. What's the difference? Well, if I have the output selected, when I hit the play key, it only plays at the area that I trimmed. If I click Original, I can go all the way back to the beginning, and I can play even the frames that are not part of my trim. One thing to remember when you're trimming video in CyberLink PowerDirector is it doesn't cut it. It does what I call rolling it under. So you can always recapture video on either end that you trim by simply moving the markers. I can move it by taking the mouse and holding it over the yellow area, and I can change the mark in. I can back up before the sign if I want, or I can change the mark out, or I can do what I did before, which is simply move my little triangle and do my mark in, and move the triangle again anywhere else I want in the project and do a mark out. And so I can see again the new length of it and the first frame and the last frame. Another nice feature of this is, let's assume you need to trim it and you want it to be exactly 15 seconds long. One thing I can do is I can click on the duration up here in the upper right. I can type in 15 and I'll set the frames to 0. And now I have a trim area that's 15 seconds long. I have a little lock button here, which is lock duration. Now this will allow me to not change the length of the trim, but I can change the position of the trim. I can move the blue area down toward the beginning of the clip. I can move it toward the end of the clip. But wherever I move it, I have 15 seconds exactly. I can change where the initial frame is and where the last frame is. But if I need a precise amount of time, this is an excellent way to control getting that exact number of seconds and frames that I want in my clip as I edit it. So I'm going to click OK now. It changed it again slightly. And now I have a 15-second segment of my original clip. And you can edit and re-edit the same clip using this method as often as you want. It's a very nice tool that gives you lots of feedback in editing the length of the video clips that are part of your project in CyberLink PowerDirector.